As the Sharma will finish, how long do you think it'll be before we're finished? Because really, all this is like appendices. That's the right way of saying it. Yeah, no, anyhow. So, we are holding Maimer Chaf Beis, Parak Beis, and until now, we've been talking about a lot of spiritual things, and now it's time to in a sense, focus on the physicality. So, I mean, I don't, when we get into it, I'll get into it. I don't want to start giving introductions because that could just take up the whole thing. There's a lot to elaborate on this, but we'll try to take everything as it comes. So just to recap what we were talking about before, we explained that the chesed that's given in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, or the chesed that's allotted, is in Malchus of Atzilus. And Malchus of Atzilus is still removed from Biyah. We say it's like the difference between life and death. So Atzilus is alive and Biyah is dead. And we said that's why there's a judgment every day to see how something is going to come down for a person. And according to the Chachamim, the din is only on Rosh Hashanah, because even in Atzilus it's decided how it's going to be. Only the question is, every day is it going to come down? Is it going to continue to come down the way that it was predestined on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? And according to Rabbi Yossi, this judgment that happens every day about if it's going to keep coming is a proper judgment. It's a complete judgment. So, Parak Beis. Hine, kol zehu lefi hashita, shebechesed atzilus, ein adayin shem teir mechesed asiya b'klal. All of this is according to the opinion that in Atzilus there's no form of the chesed of asiya at all. And even more so from the gashmistic hashpais that come down below, from what comes down into this physical world. Even in the world of asiya and yitzira and bria, and specifically in the world of Atzilus, Asher Malchus Atzilus, Kuntreis Umayan, it is of the spheres, the essential spheres of Atzilus, and there's no end to their hispashtos. It's very easy to get caught up. I mean, I don't know, maybe because I finished Kuntreis Umayan. It's very easy to get caught up and think that Malchus of Atzilus has so much to do with the lower realms, with Bria and Yitzira and Asiya. It's easy to get caught up and think that it's not one of the spheres of Atzilus. No, it is one of the spheres of Atzilus. It's really, Malchus of Atzilus is one of the spheres of Atzilus, and it's an essential sphere. It reflects on Atzmos. But anyhow, hine gam chesed Asiya kolul chesed Atzilus ein v'sham tzir dayan. The chesed of Asiya, which is included in the chesed of Atzilus, has no form still. And in order for it to have a proper form, this is what the judgment is for. However, the Fiashita, according to the opinion, the Sharshei Chesed Asiya Kolul Malchus Atzilus, Hinim Chesed Zeh Kvar Yesh V'Yitzayros Hashba'is, that in this Chesed there's already the form of the hashpah that it's going to take. We explained before the two ways that you could look at it. Either that it's removed from the world, there's shaloi be'erech, and Atzilos has no relation to this physical world, and therefore you can't say that there's the seer. Or you could say, like we're saying over here, according to the opinion, the shita doesn't necessarily mean opinion. The shita means the way of looking at it. According to the viewpoint that Chesed of Asiya is included in Malchus of Atzilus, and that even though there's no erech, but there's still what do we say? There's no erech, but there's still not a shayfos. There's still some kind of connection between them. There's still some kind of that, like we said, the mashal with the mashal, that when you have a parable that it contains within it the intellect, even though it obviously isn't expressed as an intellectual concept, an intellectual concept expressed in the parable. So Chesed of Asiya still has some kind of form in Atzilus. So that it's drawn and created from the chesed of Asiya is drawn and created from Malchus of Atzilus. In Cain, if this is the case, so their form in the Asiya of ruchni, which I'll explain in a second there. And they're being drawn, and their form, it's yoram ein eschatros. It's not a novelty. It's not something new. V'loma yiyal zadin gomer. Why should there be a proper judgment? After the fact that it's already been drawn and sealed in the judgment on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So to be clear, it's really a semantical argument. We said before the notion of the question is the notion of how you define a din. But over here he's asking us the question, how is it that you could define it as a judgment? Why would you define it as a judgment if it's according to the viewpoint that it's already been set? There's two ways you could look at it. Both of the ways are equally valid. But according to the viewpoint that it's already been decided on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and that it has within itself how it's going to come down, even though every day it might be, but it's already been decided, it already has its form. Why would you say that it's a proper judgment how it's going to come when it's already there? So, in order to understand this, we'll have to preface with the fact that we mentioned a very interesting lashon just now. We said, asiya ruchnis. What does it mean, asiya ruchnis? The world of action in a spiritual sense. Usually we say that we're in the world of asiya, and asiya is a very spiritual place. Sorry, not a very spiritual place. Asiya is a very physical place. Takke, she'in tachte the matei, the lowest place. There's nothing lower than it. We say it's a physical world or corporeal world, and now over here we're saying spiritual asiya. So what's spiritual asiya? What's physical asiya? So to understand, just by way of example, but you have Atzilus. Atzilus is Hashem's way that He relates to the world in a sense. That it's still a world, it's Elam Atzilus, it's still a world. But everything in Atzilus recognizes and appreciates godliness, and not just recognizes and appreciates it, not in the sense that it necessarily has like consciousness in that sense. Whatever it is that is in Atzilus, everything is literally from Hashem's point of view. That's what it is. The lowest that Hashem comes in appreciating things in the world. There's a Maimar, Simchas Torah Maimar, so you have these kind of things in Simchas Torah Maimar, that the Rebbe is quoting the Rebbe Rashab, says, he goes through a whole thing about all the levels of symptomim to come down into the world, and the Rebbe says, Genug di Kunzen, enough with the twists, that you're trying to make these fine philosophical twists about how Hashem comes down into the world. Atzmus is melubash in biyah. He says Hashem himself is enclosed in this world. But enclosed in this world or not enclosed in this world, doesn't matter. We're not talking about enclosement. We're talking about what the world appreciates. Atzilus is the furthest that it goes, Hashem appreciating the world. Now, it's not that when you have Bria and Yisir and Asiya, you go to a different place. The Bria is a layer of enclosement over Atzilus, and Yitzira is a layer of enclosement over Bria, and Asiya is a layer of enclosement over Yitzira. When you have Atzilus is Etzli v'Samach, it's close to Hashem, Kaviyachal, and it's again Hashem's appreciation of the world. Then you have the fact that it exists, it's been created. What's the notion of creation? The notion of creation is not it's not a notion that exists relative to Hashem, because Hashem is everything, there's no existence besides for Him. The notion that, now it's been created, it's something that, it's a layer that you put over Atzilus. The source of Bria, you could say, has a source that's higher than Atzilus, and how the enclosement comes, that's not the point. The point is that Bria is another layer on top of that. But still, it's a spiritual thing. We're saying the notion that it's been created, it's still spiritual. It hasn't come down into physicality. And then you have the world of Yitzir. Yitzir, now everything has a form. And you can start, the point isn't to define what's the difference between a creation, what's the difference of a form, but it's another layer down. And it's still spiritual. It still hasn't come down into practicality, into physicality. And then you have asiya. And asiya isn't to say, okay, now we snap our fingers and suddenly everything is fleshed out, and there's physicality, there's gashmis. That's not how it is. Asiya is another layer of this. Asiya is the last layer of this. The notion of things actually happening in this world. This is now a world that there are things that exist, they have different parameters, and they do things. There's things that are happening. With all of that, it's still not real. It's still not physical. It's like you can have a person, he makes up in his mind how he wants to do something, but it hasn't happened yet. Making a commitment is a very nice thing. And making a commitment isn't that now it's happened. Even though you've committed to it, even though you know in the future it's going to be like that, but it's not there yet. It needs to actually reach there. Another example you could give is the notion of money. What's money? Money is, if you want to say, it's that crystallized effort. You work, or you didn't work and you inherited it, depending on how you got your money. But it's crystallized effort that exists. Everyone agrees that it's crystallized effort, and that's what makes it work. Having money in your bank account isn't food on your table. And food on your table isn't food in your stomach. All of these things, until it comes down into the practical, it isn't actually there. Whatever form it might have, whatever it might be able to accomplish, but it's all in the theoretical. It's all in the spirit, in a sense. The spiritual. So this is what the difference is. And with this introduction, let's jump in. Every single existence is a combination of body and soul. The body is physical, and the soul is spiritual. They are divided in their concept and the way that they have been that they have been created. I heard once the word isify, that it's like it is, and then isify, like you made it is. That's like I think the best translation I've heard of is salvos. But the salvos and nefesh, yiba b'derech shalshalos. The creation of the soul comes by way of shalshalos. V'bechinas pnei shirsh v'merkava. Did I skip a line? Shalshalos ukumei nafshes behemes shalamata bois b'derech shalshalos v'bechinas pnei shirsh v'merkava. Like the souls of animals come from the level of pnei shir of the merkava. It says that the chariot of Yecheskel in the vision that he had. He saw that there are malachim and they had 4 faces, and there was a pnei shir, there was the face of an ox, and the face of a lion, and the face of an eagle, and the face of a man. Each malach had 4 faces. It says that the souls of animals are nishtalshal from the pnei shir in the merkava. So the souls of beasts from lions, nafshos the ephus from pnei nesher, and the souls of birds from the pnei nesher, and the souls of humans come from the face of the human, from the human face of the angel by the merkava. We know that these 4 chayes, these 4 faces of the chayes, they exist in every world, and they come by way of a shalshalos, from level to level. It goes down from level to level. That is to say, it goes from spiritual level to spiritual level. We're all talking about souls right now. Everything is in soul. Everything is in spirituality. It's also the souls which are below ruchnius. Which are below are ruchnius. The souls which exist down here, even though I'm a human and I appreciate that I have a soul, I appreciate that I have a body, and I also appreciate that I have a soul. I understand that a robot can't think the way that I can think. I understand that, an animal, in a sense, can think the way that I can think, but it's still obviously very different. But I have a soul. I have something that's more, something that the metaphysicists have struggled with for millennium. Try to understand how it is that I can appreciate that I have a body, and at the same time I have a soul. My soul is spiritual. My soul is something which it gets enclosed in physicality. We're gonna get that. I'm getting overly. There's a lot to be discussed over here. But in order to have a physical existence, in order to have a physical creation, like the bodies of living things, and the like, and anything which, whether it's inanimate or plant life or animal life or human life, all of this cannot be by way of cause and effect. There's no way to take a spiritual soul and make the spiritual soul go down to such a low level, however many attributes you'll start putting onto it, whether you give it creation or you give it a form or you give it that it can actually do things. All of these things won't make it physical. All of these things won't make it real. It's real, but it won't make it real in this physical world. It won't make it a physical thing. Even if you have tens of thousands and tens of thousands of levels that it goes down, you will not be able to have from a spiritual existence a physical existence. Everything will be spiritual. The notion of creating the physical from the spiritual, this is dafka through creating something from nothing, because there's nothing physical. You need to make something physical. Just as below, there we have a body and a soul, and the soul is something which came down from level to level until it came down into this physical world. So, and the body is created something from nothing. This is also how it is in the Baila. By this, it exists in this way. And like angels, it's known it's known that they are also created from body and soul, which as the Ramban writes, that which it is written, that he creates his angels as winds, and his servants are burning fire. It's pasuk in Tehillim. So this is that Ramban says. This is referring to the bodies of malachim, that they are created from the elements of fire and wind. So it turns out that they have some kind of body and soul. I'm going to say, I don't want to say in a more spiritual sense, in a less refined sense than we appreciate that we have our bodies. It's very, very nuanced. They have, on a higher level, they have bodies that have the concept of a guf and a nefesh. and also in the 10 spheres in the worlds of Bria and Yetzirah and Asiya, Sheklulis ve'eris v'kelim. They're included from Eris and Kelim. They're combined from Eris and Kelim. Before Be'egas HaKedesh, which is explained in Be'egas HaKedesh, Simon Chav, the Bramaska, Levi Chayui, the Shakelim, the Esther spheres, the Biyah, Hem Mechinas Nivra, that the Kelim of the 10 spheres of Biyah are they're on the level of a nivra. They've been created. And they were created something from nothing. From their neshama. And if this is the case. So the level of nefesh, which is the neshama that it has, is created in a way, it comes in a way of a shalshlus of ilan olol, of cause and effect. And the kelim, and even more so the levushim, and the chambers and the malachim that exist in every single world. The creation is in a way of yesh v'ayin. So just to kind of recap what we're saying right now, we have a notion that things come in a spiritual sense. We said that things go from Atzilus, they go to Bria, to Yetzirah, and to Asiya. Everything that exists in those spiritual worlds is, as I said, spiritual. It exists in a sense of spirit, and it doesn't exist in a physical sense. It doesn't exist in a practical sense. And in order for it to come into a practical sense, a malach that's in Yetzirah, which is a level of existence that we can't really appreciate, being people that exist in 3 dimensions. Very often they give the example, they say, oh, well, you have a person that exists in 2 dimensions, he can't comprehend 3 dimensions. We exist in 3 dimensions, we can't really comprehend 2 dimensions. We could say, we can understand you're taking it to a more refined level. We could say that you're taking away a whole plane of existence. We can't really imagine what existence would be like on only 2 planes of existence, on only 2 planes of dimensions. We could say, we understand it would be less than this, but you start taking enough things away. I mean, you could say, well, what if you take away all 3 dimensions? We can't imagine a notion of space like that. We also can't imagine a notion of space that's only 2 dimensions. So you have everything that exists in a more spiritual sense has the concept of a body, and it has the concept of a soul. The soul is the spiritual, that you have Atzilus, and it goes into Bria, and into Yetzirah, and into Asiya, and it all keeps on going down. Malachim are on a higher level spiritually. But in order for them to exist, they also need to have a guf. They also need to have, they're more than just the spiritual concept, the spiritual notion that exists. Hashem says for everything that it should come down, that it should come physical. It should become not necessarily physical in the sense that we appreciate in our 3 dimensions, that we appreciate in the level of time that we have, etc., etc. But that it should come into a practical sense, that it exists in some level of reality that we have. And that shift is something which is yesh me'ayin. It's something from nothing. According to this, that which we explained before, the chesed d'Atzilus kelul shorshe mechinas chesed d'Asiya. The chesed of Atzilus includes within it the source of the level of chesed of Asiya, and the shvois which come from it. And the hamshacha comes in a way of a shalshus, that it's drawn down by way of, we said, from level to level to level, until it comes out in a practical sense in Asiya. But we said that the chesed of Asiya is really included in chesed of Atzilus. Takke, that's true. Naneach. This is in the level of Er and Chayes. This is in the level of the spiritual. It's the soul of all of the worlds. But the kelim, the vessels to contain it, the physicality, the Bria Yetzirah Asiya. Not necessarily the physicality, but on a certain level. And even more so than clothements of Bria and Yetzirah Asiya. They come in a way of creation of something from nothing. Any questions? Yeah, good. Baruch Hashem. So a chesed sheniktzov Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, the chesed which is set on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, who shorshe chesed Asiya, shekol malchus Atzilus, is the source of chesed of Asiya that is included in malchus Atzilus. So Hare Kvar Yeshve Yitzir B'Sharshi Hashvayis Agashviyis, it has the form of how it's going to come down physically. And Kain Mao Inyan Adin V'Chol Yom. So if this is so, what's the concept of the judgment that happens every day? So we explain V'Chol Niver Yesh Gof Nefesh. Every creation has a body and it has a soul. But Nefesh is Avusi B'Derech Shalshlos, and the soul, its creation is by way of Shalshlos, that it goes down from cause and effect, level to level. But Aguf is Avusi B'Derech Yesh Me'ayin. But in order for it to have a body, that comes by way of yesh me'ayin, creation, something from nothing. So kein hu ba'esher spheres ba'ezus v'kelim. This is also how it is with 10 spheres and eretz and kelim. I don't want to jump the gun because we're going to be discussing this a little bit in the next ace, but this answers the question. the question of what's the concept of the judgment every day. The judgment every day is the takke could exist in Atzilos and it come down even into asiya. Coming down into asiya isn't saying that it exists in a physical sense. Coming down into asiya means that it exists in a spiritual sense. But we're here to make a direct tachtenim. We need to have it in a physical sense. This is what the judgment is for.